October has arrived in Cleveland, Ohio. There is a chill in the air and excitement in the air as well, as the Cleveland Cavaliers begin the long journey back to what promises to be another big season. And while there is debate as to whether it's McCown or Manziel at quarterback for the Browns, Cavs fans are all in for a team that has to heal up and man up. Work begins at Cleveland Clinic Courts in Independence, Ohio, the first step on defending their Eastern Conference Championship title. And with this man, all things are possible. The four-time MVP at age 30, soon to be 31, LeBron James again leading this crew to what he hopes to be a finishing task, and that is a finals and a championship for the city. And we welcome you to Real Training Camp, Cleveland Cavaliers. I'm Vince Cellini alongside the czar of the telestrator, Mike Fratello. We welcome the NBA TV audience joining us and welcome in the Facebook audience for an historic simulcast that is taking place with that social media venue. Mike, good to be with you, and full disclosure for the audience, we have Cleveland connections. I grew up here.
But I pay taxes here right now. You're not paying anymore.
Yes, you do. Now, I don't believe we have any old video of me anchoring here at the old Fox 8 TV station, but fortunately, we do have some video of you in action as the former Cleveland Cavalier coach. Always entertaining to take a look back at a young Mike Fratello with the Rain Man, Sean Kemp.
A little different hairstyle back then, too.
I like the double-breasted. It's working.
I still have the same person cutting my hair, Franny. She's done it for like 40 years almost.
You were a dashing young coach then. Not that you aren't now.
Maybe I should go back to that hairstyle. What do you think?
Bobby Sura.
Would it help out?
Yeah. Well, I'd like to go back to mine, too, but that's another story. Mike, as you know, as a resident here, excitement levels through the roof. Folks are fully expecting this team to get back to the finals.
And what's happened is with the Browns getting off to somewhat of a slow start, and it's a long season ahead for them, but right now these people are already thinking championship with the Cleveland Cavaliers, and they understand that there is a championship roster in place when they are fully healthy. And David Griffin, the general manager, and his staff have done a terrific job of keeping the key players that they had to keep under contract and then going out and making them even a stronger roster than they were at the end of last season.
Right. LeBron not able to will this team to the finish line in the finals because of health problems. And once again, that's part of the 5 storylines, Mike, that you have laid out for the Cavaliers as they are set to begin the season. And we'll take a look at those right now, starting with the effect of Tristan Thompson not being in camp.
Well, it's the number one topic right now because Thompson was so important to them down the stretch. Remember, this was a guy that during the regular season basically averaged 8 points, 8 rebounds. But then when he was thrust into that starting role, come playoffs and played, major minutes for them, this is a guy who averaged a double-double, and he's coming down now to the wire where he's got to make some big decisions at the end of the night tonight. And I feel badly for him. He's a terrific young man. Everybody loves him on the team. He's loved in the community. But sometimes you get into the situation where you don't make your own decisions. Sometimes you rely very heavily on other people helping you with your decisions. And at some point, maybe you have to stand up and say, look, this is what's best for me. But we'll get back to that in a little bit.
I do want to revisit that. And David Griffin, the general manager of the Cavs, will be joining us in just a few minutes. We want to talk about health. And, of course, Irving and Love, there's no timetable for their return at this point from the knee and the shoulder injury. Mozgov vows to be there on opening night. And Varejao is back from the Achilles. Mozgov had his knee cleaned out. Iman Shumpert, successful surgery on the right wrist. He is out at least 3 months, maybe 3.5. Can the new additions reduce the Big Three's minutes? And there is a style for the regular season. Will that be in place for David Blatt and LeBron and in being more comfortable in terms of what they want to run this season?
Well, without question, you had everybody seem to be new last year. There were so many new players on the roster. They went out and got a guy like Kevin Love to come in and join them last year. And that man, who had been a very, very successful coach over in Europe for 20 years, all of a sudden, he thought he was coming in to coach a young team that they were going to develop over the next 3 or 4 years and wound up with an all-star roster on his team.
No, not quite the situation. There's a shot of LeBron. We talked about Kevin Love, and just yesterday, both LeBron and David Blatt, Mike, were talking about an expanded role for Love, something more along the lines of what we saw when he was with the Minnesota Timberwolves this last year.
What they're hoping to do is reduce the minutes on that man right there, LeBron James. And, if you go back over the last 5 seasons, LeBron James has played over 18,000 minutes okay, regular season and the postseason. The next closest guy is Kevin Durant with just under 16,000 minutes. So there's been wear and tear on his body, and they've had to figure out how we're going to do it when he's off the floor, because he does so much for this team. And not only does he score and rebound and defend, but then he's a decision maker with the ball in his hand. So as a result of that, when he's off the floor, you don't have Kyrie Irving right now. So they want to put the ball in the hands of a Kevin Love, get him at that elbow area a little bit higher, and then let him make decisions with the ball as far as hit open people. You have to play him, or he's such a terrific threat from downtown.
And historic in terms of making it all the way through, Mike, with the minutes in playing 5 straight years, getting all the way through the finals. And even if you're sort of superhuman as a player like LeBron, that eventually has to take its toll to a certain extent. He joked on day one of reporting to camp that he could use a couple more months off to rest up, but training very hard and coming into camp in great shape as usual.
Well, it's not like he took the summer off and didn't do anything at all. He wasn't just laying around, okay, in Cleveland, Ohio. This guy had a very active summer, traveled abroad. I believe took a trip to China, okay, with his sneaker company, and at the same time found the time to continue to work on his body, gather his teammates together in a preseason workout down in Miami area, and had a number of the guys show up down there to work out with him. And I would venture a guess that he's in pretty good shape starting training camp.
Well, no question about it. And as promised, David Griffin, the general manager of the Cleveland Cavaliers, nice enough to stop by. Good to see you.
Thanks, Vince.
Congratulations on a great season.
Good to see you.
And we're excited about this one. It always starts with business when I have a chance to speak with you. And the deadline, 11:59 p.m. tonight for Tristan Thompson to accept a qualifying offer or maybe a new deal. What is the very latest on Thompson's situation?
So I wouldn't characterize anything as the very latest. I think it's just a situation for us where we feel very, very powerfully good about Tristan. We feel like he's a player that we care a great deal about, and we know he cares a great deal about this team and the chance and the opportunity we have. So we fully expect that tomorrow he'll be here in some form or fashion, and we're excited to get going.
Well, how will he be here? Will he be here accepting a 1 year or a deal, or you just expect him to be here?
I wouldn't characterize that at all. So we're hopeful that he wants to move forward with his teammates in the same way that we want to have Tristan here, and if we can come to some agreement, we will.
Dave, sometimes in negotiations, it becomes difficult because neither side wants to look publicly like they lost the battle. And it's a tough thing to handle, I would imagine, from your standpoint, because you're representing the organization, the team. You've got to manage all the monies of the owner. And on the other hand, his agents want to look like, you know, we've done a really good job of negotiating a deal for you. So it's something you have to kind of work your way through.
Yeah, I mean, I guess so. But ultimately, they have done a great job of negotiating a deal for him. And I think our offer reflects that. I think this is a situation where the process works like it does for a reason. And it's played out the way it has for a reason. And to this point, everybody's actions indicate they want to be together, and we just anticipate that will continue.
Does he have to have a signed contract to be here and working, or could you extend the deadline and allow him to participate?
We would have had to have done that by yesterday.
All right.
And he has to be under contract to participate, obviously. So whatever form that takes as we move along, we'll deal with it.
So that means you expect him to be under contract?
I would hope he is, certainly. But, you know, I don't have any expectation other than the fact that this is an opportunity he wants to be part of.
Yeah, this is a key guy as far as he gives you the ability to play big. You know, if you want to go small, it's a different story. You sit some of those big guys down, but you can play big with him. He's a protection for you injury-wise. Let's face it, the way he stepped up in the playoffs, he probably could start for a number of teams in the league, but he's on a team which has a real chance of winning a championship, and I would think that in his mind, he's got a way in it. Do I want to win a championship and be here with this group, or do I really want to go somewhere else?
Yeah, well, I think everybody has to make that decision. You know, we had several free agents this offseason that made the decision that they wanted to be part of the championship nucleus we were trying to build. And I think we've built a family that really cares about each other, that sacrifices for each other. I think that was evident in the way they played in the finals. And Tristan was a huge part of that, and we have no reason to believe he won't continue to be.
It's interesting as you start the season, it's likely you're not going to have your starting backcourt in place. But that's where you go out and try to find guys who can do the job and get some depth on this team. And David, that's what you were able to do.
Yeah, we're really blessed to have the ownership support we have from Dan Gilbert and Nate Forbes, Jeff Cohen, and their guys. We're really blessed that we had incredible willingness to spend and put us into a position to keep this group together. And because we did, we were able to bring J.R. Smith back. It's a situation for us where Shump and J.R. sort of alternated starting last year anyway, so we end up in a position where everybody's familiar with each other and we know what it looks like with J.R. in that role. And this also provides an opportunity for Joe Harris to play a little bit more. He was the best player in our gym in September. We're optimistic that he can build on that into the future as well. So, again, that particular position we feel like we're going to be okay with. And I think across the board, depth was a big part of what we wanted to do. When you watched us in the finals, it was clear we didn't have enough playmaking. So Mo Williams was a piece we really needed to add. We didn't have enough floor spacing shooting either at some point, and so Richard Jefferson was a big part of what we were looking to add as well. So we were very blessed that guys wanted to be part of what we've created here, and obviously the presence of LeBron James makes everybody want to play here, and it worked out well for us.
Ironically, when you did the big deal last year and Shumpert came in, he had to sit initially because of that dislocated shoulder, if I remember right. So he wasn't immediately a starter in the lineup. We had to wait for him to get healthy. And now we start off this season where, after having such a terrific year for us last year when he came back and the way things finished up, now, again, he starts out waiting to get healthy once again.
Yeah, I think we were fortunate that they did get an opportunity to play with JR in the starting lineup for a good part of the season. And so we start this year looking forward to continuity, something we had absolutely none of last year, from our coaching staff to 13 new players being thrown together. And now we've got a group that knows what they expect from one another. And certainly at that position, JR gives us the opportunity to just keep right on trucking.
Well, David, we knew about Kyrie and it was going to be a process. We knew about Kevin Love and it was going to be a process. But the Shumpert one had to be somewhat of a gut punch to not have a guy for 3 months or maybe over 3 months with the wrist surgery.
Yeah, certainly it's not the news you're looking for on media day. You know, hope springs eternal on that day for everybody but us, apparently. But again, it was one of those things that just you couldn't do anything about. You know, he was working incredibly hard in the off season. He put himself in great shape, worked on the things that he really needed to work on, and it's just a freakish injury that happened 3 days before he got to camp. So in some ways, we're blessed it's this early. It'd be much worse if it was the end of January and we would lose him for what we hope is a playoff run.
Bring us up to date. We almost forgot this guy because he was injured early last year, but where is Anderson Varejão now in his recovery and his ability to play?
So Anderson obviously worked really hard this offseason, but Anderson was upset with us we didn't let him play in the finals last year. He wasn't ready to go physically, but he certainly was mentally. He's going to be full go right from the beginning here, and he's in great shape. And again, you were alluding to earlier our ability to take advantage of Kevin and Anderson's offense from the elbows, and I think Anderson's going to look incredibly good in the system that we're putting in place.
David, thanks for stopping by.
You
Always
bet,
a
guys.
pleasure to speak
Thanks,
with you,
Vince.
and best of
Thank
luck
you.
this season.
Coach, thank you.
Thank you.
Looking forward to it. All right, let's take you out there live. We have players and, of course, head coach David Blatt mic'd up. So here's David Blatt protecting himself and running practice. Let's listen in.
All right, listen up, fellas. We're going down the floor 5-on-0, okay? Running what comes. Going down the floor 5-on-0. Last passer and shooter are running back. Last passer and shooter. And we attack 3-on-2. On our 3-on-2, we're looking to score. Shooter must sprint back and play against the two defenders 2-on-1 on this end. Now, if the shooter is a layup shooter, one of our other offensive players must recognize and cover. Yell out to him, I got it, and he gets back and plays in transition defense. 1, 2, 3. Oh, Kev can't do this. That's right. Come on. Champ, ready? Okay, again. Mo, yeah. 5-on-0. Last shooter, last passer and shooter get back 3-on-2, and then the last shooter gets back 2-on-1. Mo, here you go, ball. Going down that way, Timo, 5-on-0. Ready? Let's go. Ready? Let's go. Go. Called out, Mo. Back, champ. Back, champ. Attack him, Mo. Wide, Timo. Run wide. Mo, get back. Champ and Braun, go. Let's go. Then stay down that end, guys. Let's go. Ready? Come on now. Okay, I got to convert, fellas. We got to convert. You got to convert. Let's go. Post, can I get some help here?
All right, Mike, take us through what's Coach Blatt doing here to start practice.
I thought the interesting thing in the beginning is when David Blatt was counting, okay, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and then he stopped and said, okay, you can't do that. Remember, he's limited, Kevin Love, in which drills he can do and which drills they want to keep him out of. So it may be anything in contact. They may be saying, Kevin Love, you're not involved. You can run up and down 5 on none. But when it gets to 3 on 2, 2 on 1, which could be contact, we don't want you in that. So that's why he kind of bumped him out of that one. But what you have is a drill which has multiple trips up and down the floor. They start out 5 players against no defense. So they get the idea of spacing, filling lanes, who's a trailer, communication. Then when a shot goes up, they come back and play 3 offensive players against 2 defenders coming back. But it doesn't end there. When a shot goes up there, they come back 2 offensive players against 1 defensive player. So it's 3 trips taking place on the drill.
And we are going to step away on Real Training Camp, the Cleveland Cavaliers. So glad you're with us on NBA TV and on Facebook. Much more to come as our practice continues in Independence, Ohio. We'll talk David Blatt and more coming up next.
The signature move, return is now official. Screen from Thompson, but the inside! Oh, mistake in the lane! Blocked by LeBron James. That ball will never be the same. James for the win. It's gone! LeBron James at the buzzer.
LeBron James is entering his 13th year, coming off an epic, historic finals performance against the Golden State Warriors. 6 games, averaged almost 36 points a game, 13 rebounds, 9 assists, 1.3 steals, and played 45.7 minutes per. And Mike, that was part of what you had talked about in terms of taking some of it off of his shoulders, because the 1 versus 5 didn't work, obviously because of the injury situation. But going forward, what version of LeBron James will we see with this Cavs team?
You're going to see the same version, but the key will be how much will they be able to spell him and not drop off as a team. Think about this number, Vince. In the playoffs, the 6 games that you just talked about, he was on the floor for 275 minutes. He was off the floor for 23 minutes compared to his 275 on. And when he was on the floor, the team shot almost 40%. Off the floor, they shot 17%. So not only is he so important in scoring, he's so important in getting his teammates open shots, because without Love and without Kyrie Irving, a lot of those guys can't create shots for themselves. That guy, LeBron James, had to not only get his own shot, but get a shot for somebody else.
When we talk about controlling minutes, last year he logged a career low 36.5 a game. So how do you do that? How do you pare that back even more, or try to keep it around that area? Because remember, he had that 2-week period in midseason where he went into chill mode, as I remember.
Well, that number is a little bit deceiving that you said there, because early in the season and for the first 3 quarters of the season, he was up in the top 5 as far as minutes per game go. Then they rested him more down the stretch. Once they knew they had the playoff situation secured, they realized they had to give him a break, so they backed off on the minutes there. But in the beginning of the year, he and Kyrie Irving were on the floor, both of them in the top 5 minutes played in the early parts of the season.
Want to talk about LeBron James and David Blatt finding common ground, and we will in just a moment. But let's head back onto the practice floor and listen to David.
Jared, make a play. Good, Jared. Nice job. Good job. Phil, you guys need a drink? All right, let's go stations. Let's go. Let's go stations. Nice work, fellas. That's pretty good. That was pretty damn good for first day on that. You know that, folks? Yes, sir. Pretty damn good. very high. Yeah. Hey, coach. Hey, coach. We want to get him running. That's how we do it.
Yeah.
We got to run him. That was pretty good for the first time. Real nice.
Like, yeah, you got on from 2-on-1. Yeah.
Right. Yep. Liked it. He was running out. You can't do the live thing. Now he's back. Yeah. Had to pull him out. He's in now, though. Where is he? Okay. All right. You're all set. If there's any issue, just call me real quick, but you're all set. Mike, you're not allowed to leave. I got you.
Mike, I want to ask you about David Blatt entering his second season, and he said he had a lot to learn in that first year, but he's starting this season, quote, in a better place. What will be the difference in year two, in your opinion, with David Blatt in this casting?
He's got to feel so much more comfortable. As I said last year, the only person to be under as much pressure as David Blatt was in to start the season was Eric Spoelstra 5 seasons back. That was the year LeBron James had joined the Miami Heat, and the expectations were so high with Bosh, with Wade, with James. Well, James comes, you've got an all-star point guard in Kyrie Irving. They bring in Kevin Love. Then they add the other players, the Shumperts, okay, and Mozgov and J.R. Smith. And it took a while for David Blatt. Remember, everybody was referring to him as a rookie coach, and he kind of took exception to that. He said, look, I've coached over 20 years in Europe, professional basketball. I've won championships. I've won international championships. And the only thing that's different now is I'm coming to the NBA. Minutes are longer, 48-minute games compared to 40-minute games. Some of the rules are different, but it's coaching basketball. And this is a very, very bright person. The key would be, how would he be able to communicate with players here from the NBA, and could he earn their respect? And that was only going to come with time. You don't walk in unless you're Phil Jackson with 11 rings, or a Pat Riley, guys who have 4, 5, 6 championship rings. When you walk in, you've got to earn the respect of NBA players, and they talk, and they watch you, they see how you teach, and they see your game decisions. That's how you earn their respect.
And first and foremost, earning the complete respect of the best player on the planet in LeBron James, and David Blatt and LeBron, I believe, are working on a better relationship for this year. What type of common ground do you see them coming to in terms of what the offense will look like, what they will try to do strategically this year offensively?
Well, I think David up close found out how great LeBron really is. And not only is he great with his talents on the court, but when Blatt would talk to LeBron about basketball, about things they could do, LeBron is just way up there as far as the basketball IQ goes. He sees things, he understands, he remembers plays of the opponents, and what was successful and what was not successful in playing against it. So it was a matter of Blatt allowing LeBron in to his world of coaching and accepting what LeBron had to say, and realizing that, you know what, this guy knows what he's talking about, and then he goes out and does it, which makes our team win games. So I think there's a mutual respect formed by the end of the season. I think LeBron looked at what happened during the year and said, you know what, that guy went through an awful lot, and here we are in the NBA Finals. So now hopefully they come back with the same mission. They all want to get back to the finals again, but win it this time.
And Mike, one of the big bumps that he was able to overcome happened in Game 4 of the Chicago series when LeBron audibles on the play that David Blatt had called. He wanted LeBron to inbound. And LeBron says, no, I'm going to take this shot. Also in that same game, the timeout that wasn't, when Tyronn Lue steps in. So those are little instances during the course of the year where it really can go either way, can it, for a coach, particularly a first-year coach in a high-level team?
The instances were magnified because of just what you said. First-year coach and the best player in the game. And when they're involved in a situation like that, believe me, LeBron is not the first or only player that's ever said to a coach in the huddle, no, let's do this, okay, and get me the ball over there. There are players who will tell you exactly where they want it on the floor and when they want to get it on the floor, because that's their comfort spot. So LeBron talking and changing a play, it's just how it came out and how it looked. It made it way worse than it really was, because it happens all the time in this league. The timeout situation where David almost called a timeout, you know what, that's what you had assistants for. That's why you constantly have to remind each other. He started to slip up and call for it. Tyronn Lue, his #1 assistant, grabbed him, pulled him back, reminded him we don't have one to use. It worked out well for them. Could have been a real bad mistake. Every coach has made mistakes.
Mike, is it all right if I change some of the editorial content of our show as we go along today? Or
Whatever you'd like to do.
okay, I just want to make
You're
sure
the
I
boss.
have that ability.
You do.
We're heading to break. It's Real Training Camp, Cleveland Cavaliers, Independence, Ohio, and look at downtown Cleveland. The North Coast. We'll be right back.
Here's
with
where I
more.
live. It's right there
Well, I can see your
on
house.
the water.
Right.
There it is.
Just to the right.
Yep, just to the right.
Back on Real Training Camp, the Cleveland Cavaliers. J.R. Smith entering his 12th season, likely the starter at shooting guard for the Cavs with the Iman Shumpert injury. He is one of the folks we have mic'd up, so let's listen to J.R. Smith.
Say something, say something. There you go, Q. Shot ball, shot ball, shot ball. Keep running, Austin. Good shot, Joe. Shot, Joe. Hey, Nick. Hey, Nick, on that double drag, you be the first screen, so the big can come, after he come off you dip a little bit, and then the big set the screen, you pop behind. You good? No, you got you.
There is J.R. Smith, one of the great streak shooters, three-point shooters. When he gets hot, Mike, as good as anybody in the league. Coming back in a 2-year deal, a second-year player option, and actually less money than in the year before.
Sometimes you gamble and realize that it's not going to be what you had hoped it was going to be, and you go back to a situation where, in his mind, he knew he had a real good thing going on here, and he had developed a great bond with the head coach, David Blatt. They were on the same page from day one, and as he just stated yesterday, from the beginning, David Blatt judged him on what he did here, not past rumors or things that had happened in the past. As our co-worker Charles Barkley would have described, he was a knucklehead at one point in his career, doing silly things that were damaging his reputation, damaging his playing on the court, and he seemed to grow up a little bit when he got here last year. LeBron James helping out, LeBron telling the organization, go get him, I'll take care of him once he get here. And then that guy, David Blatt, developed a very close bond with him, and JR came out yesterday and said he cared about me as a person, not just as a player. They had real good discussions. JR is his #1 fan right now, and what we just saw, he showed that leadership ability there. He took a young guy in camp here, talking about what he has to do, what he has to look for, and that's a good sign. That shows that he's stepping up and trying to help out, understanding they could be shorthanded to start out the season.
Well, there was a little bit of everything in the postseason for J.R. Smith. Early on, Atlanta-Chicago series, he tore it up, about 50% from three, had that record 8 3-point shooting game in Game 1 versus Atlanta in the Eastern Conference Finals. But then we got to the finals, and it dipped in terms of his overall shooting, and his three-point shooting was 29% against the Warriors in the finals. Mike, he knows this. He wants to, get this thing back on track. He has carried that with him, and I would think a guy that has a lot to prove now as he opens up the season and will get opportunities very early.
He's such an explosive scorer. You talked about 8 3-pointers in a game. He's the leader in the NBA right now. He's had 13 games with 8 3-pointers or more in a game. Second place, Stephen Curry with 10 of those games. But then he's also had 25 games with at least 7 3-pointers in a game. When he got to the finals, whether it was the toll of all the minutes and the playoffs and the intensity and the scouting report, and let's credit Golden State with their defense, okay, it just wasn't there. He wasn't the only one that couldn't make a shot. LeBron basically was the only guy that seemed to be able to do anything offensively, and that's why I think if they just would have had Kyrie Irving, a guy who could do two things that Golden State took away. Kyrie can make a perimeter shot, he could dribble penetrate against their defense and finish at the rim or create a shot for somebody else. There might have been a different champion right now.
In the offseason, he opted out of a $6.4 million deal. He re-signs $5 million in the first season. Now, it's very likely that J.R. Smith and Mo Williams will be the starting backcourt for the Cavaliers October 27th in Chicago. Let's talk a little bit about Mo Williams, who's going to be 33 in December. Mike, he had a stint here with the Cavs, of course, 2008 to 10. Can score the basketball, can change the tempo, and can kind of space things out too for the Cavs. All the things that he is going to bring to the table, Mo.
Well, ironically, he was a starter here during his last tenure with the Cavaliers, and You know, when that ended and when LeBron announced he was moving on, Mo was really, really hurt by that because he saw that the team obviously was not going to be the same without LeBron. They had had so many great moments together. He was 27 years old at that time, and LeBron leaves, and he actually contemplated retiring from basketball because of LeBron's decision. And he tweeted something out that really caused a strain on the relationship between Mo and LeBron. And it took a phone call from Mo to patch things up. LeBron was forgiving. And then this past summer, when he looked everything and he was a free agent and was looking everything over, he called LeBron back and said, what do you think about me coming back and being a teammate once again? LeBron had moved past, okay, what had happened way back, and here they are once again. He got the blessing of LeBron, and here he is back on their team again. So he gives them the ability to score. He also gives them the ability to run the show.
You're talking about the decision and Mo Williams' reaction to what LeBron did in terms of the tweet. And
yes.
Kind of smoothing that all over. Also wearing number 52. He had 52 against Indiana back in January. So I don't know if there's a connection there. Not sure not. But let's listen to David Blatt.
When they mess with him, they're not like trying to hurt him, you know what I mean? Because they know he's listening. You know, he's not griping him.
I'm just saying, like, you know, I'm hurt. I want to sit down. He wants to go. He was so mad when he took my back.
You gotta love that. I love that kid. I'm telling you. And he's another one. No bitch. Goes out there, does his work. Look how long he is. You don't realize. People don't realize how long he is. Tamir's in his last
David Blatt with
game,
assistant Tyronn Lue, and fortunately we don't have Tyronn mic'd up fully.
He's expressing himself.
We apologize for that, folks, but you know, that's training camp talk. How about a little bit about this relationship? And really, Lue's a rising star among assistants, and many feel, Mike, it won't be long before he'll get a chance to slide over on the bench.
Well, he came very close to being the head coach of the Cavaliers. This is the final two people in making their decision who would be the head coach of Cleveland, and they went the path of David Blatt, and then asked Blatt, how would you feel about this young man joining you as your assistant? And think about, you know, David Blatt. Here's the guy who finished second to him, and you're asking him, would you hire that guy to be your right-hand man? Yet he was comfortable enough and trusted him enough that he did do that. He was Doc Rivers' right-hand guy out with the Clippers, and come from Boston with Doc to the Clippers, but was willing to leave that situation to come into Cleveland and help David Blatt. And he puts so much responsibility on Tyronn Lue. When they start their defense, and I was here last year right in the beginning of training camp when they first came in, it was Lue that handled the defense, the entire thing, from day one, starting to build it up through the rest of the season.
Mike, how important is the assistant relationship, really among all assistants for the head coach?
If you don't put a good staff together, you're probably not going to be very successful in the league. It's the strength of your staff that enables you to really allow a team to grow, to develop, to bring young players along. And as we heard earlier, Dave Griffin saying, ownership here, okay, has not spared anything. They allow them to bring people in that can help and build. When you look at the assistant coaches, like right now, they have the team, the roster divided into 4 stations. They're in 4 different parts of the court. They have assistant coaches all over the place working on different things at different baskets. And ownership has been willing to spend the money to make this staff as large as it is. If you have a strong staff, it gives you that much more of a chance of being successful.
Once again, David Blatt in his second year will be much more comfortable in terms of getting his ideas and communicating. And of course, Larry Drew is another veteran on the bench, and someone you can lean on and has head coaching experience as well, and just a steady hand for this Cavalier team.
Former player, former assistant coach, former head coach in the league, and a guy that David Blatt trusts and brought him upon his staff. you know that a head coach has confidence and is probably pretty good when he doesn't fear people that could be looked at as a threat to his position. He understood that coming in here, he needed some help once the roster changed. Early on, he was told that we're going to be young, we're going to be inexperienced, we're going to build and grow over the next 3 or 4 seasons. That changed all of a sudden when LeBron decided to come. Love was added. Then when they started the season, David Griffith does the trade with the Knicks and brings in 3 more bodies. All of a sudden, it was great that he had all this extra help and experience to deal with this.
All right, we want to send it back out now and listen to David Blatt. I'm trying to check and see if he's standing near Tyronn. Oh, he's near Tyronn Lue. Okay, hold on. Here we go. Oh, we hope you're enjoying this on NBA TV and on Facebook as we are simulcast there. Mike, I didn't know you were a social media pioneer, but apparently you are. And I'm right along with you here on Facebook.
Whatever you say, boss. I'm just following you along.
We'll be right back with much more. Cavs training camp, real training camp, after this. Welcome back to Real Training Camp, Cleveland Cavaliers, and a reminder that you can check out this broadcast streaming live on our NBA TV Facebook page. And we invite you to comment, ask us some questions, send along your opinions, and hit like. And tell your friends to hit like. We like when you hit like. You know, it's like likable. Hashtag Cavs RTC. Thanks for being with us. There's a shot of J.R. Smith on the floor, and one of the guys they'll be relying upon this season, particularly early on with the injury to Shumpert. But Mike, I want to go back and talk about Kevin Love once again, who's very excited to be back after the shoulder dislocation. First round against Boston. Last season in Minnesota, 26.1 points per game, 12.5 rebounds. Last season with the Cavs, 16-4, 9-7. Both LeBron and Blatt had gone on record just the day before and saying that they'd find some ways to get him more involved, more of the Kevin Love we saw with the Timberwolves.
Well, let's remember, during the early part of the season, it wasn't smooth sailing for the Cavs and Kevin Love and LeBron James and David Blatt, because Love was so used to being the first option and second option and third option in Minnesota that when he came here, it was hard for him to grasp the understanding that, you know, we have Kyrie Irving, who's an all-star point guard. We have LeBron James, who's the MVP in the league. And now here I am, and you know what, I could really be the third option when we start out here. He wasn't used to that. The ball was not in his hands as often as it was in Minnesota. Remember, he was such a terrific rebounder, along with the fact that he was a 26-point scorer, as you mentioned there. It was a major adjustment for him. He had to get that ego of his and get it under control and understand how he could fit in. If winning ultimately was what he wanted to do, he had to understand that this happened to Chris Bosh when he left Toronto and went to Miami to join Wade and LeBron James. So it was an adjustment period, and they had to figure out how to use him best.
He had to stop trying to find a way to fit out and just fit in, to play off LeBron's famous tweet back in February. Let's take a look at him in action.
Yeah, they spread the floor with him, and you get dribble penetration and collapse the defense. You see all the Lakers, the purple jerseys back in the paint. Well, there's the spotter people on the outside, and it's a matter of moving the basketball before the defender can get back and recover. And Kevin Love is so comfortable out there behind the three-point line. How about a little screen down away from the ball? You get a screen down. You get Kevin Love coming back out. Again, the three-point shot, he's so deadly from out behind the arc. Collapse the defense, spot your people up, and you see how well the Cavaliers space the floor. And then it's a matter of getting to the rim, and you see three purple jerseys around it. You know somebody's out there. It's just do you have the ability to make the pass and make the right decision?
An eventful summer, of course. You saw that he signed the 5-year, $110 million contract, put in a lot of work in the offseason to regain range of motion in that left shoulder, get the strength back, and says he feels, quote, really good, anxious to come back. And he laughed in his press conference just on day one, because he said, you guys didn't believe me when I said I wanted to come back here and play and I was going to sign. He goes, look, I'm back. I'm signed.
There was so much speculation that he was unhappy here. He didn't want to return. Many people were saying that he would wind up in Los Angeles with the Lakers, but that wasn't the case. Here he is. He signed a long-term contract, just bought a house. He's a neighbor now of mine in my same development, and I hope he's a quiet neighbor. You know, Vince, I'm really concerned.
I think he hopes the same thing. You know, he caused quite a bit of attention too with his hairstyle in terms of social media. You know, there were a lot of tweets about that, and on Facebook in terms of, you know, letting his hair get a little wild there for camp.
You know, I probably
These
should
are such things that we
should
discuss.
leave hairstyles alone.
Yeah.
You know,
Well, I'm just
let him
saying,
do what he
you know,
wants.
he can do whatever he wants. It looks great either way. Let's go back on the court. Good idea, and check in with head coach David Blatt.
Bigger we are. Look how much bigger we are, Kai. With Sasha out there, with Andy back, RJ back, you know, I'm probably the same height as Tricks, but, you know, he's physically bigger, stronger. It's a bigger team. We covered a lot last year, too, but even more so this year. Tag. Talk, pull over. That's it, good, Jay. Nice, Braun. Kevin, drop the box, good. Good work, good work. Hey, Alex, how we doing load-wise? This 12-minute session, I want to play some live, but I think I'll keep it half court for now. And then we're going to just shoot in the end, and that's it.
Well, what David Blatt is talking about when he said, how are we doing load-wise? They have all these players monitored, okay? They're wearing in their practice jerseys. They have a piece in there that monitors how much output they're putting out in each drill, and it's monitored on a computer screen, so they can tell the players going 80%, 85%, 90%. That's what you went over and checked just now, the workload that's been put on their body and how much effort and energy are they expending.
You know, it's interesting when we hit that sound with David Blatt. He was talking to Kyrie Irving. He said, Kai, look how much bigger we are with Sasha on the floor and Andy and Timo. And now they might have these options to go big, or the trend for a lot of teams, and that is if they need to go to a smaller lineup, they can do that. It's great to have those types of options.
And the other thing is, with Varejao coming back and then adding Sasha Khan to their front line already, which you're thinking Mozgov, and then you were assuming that Tristan Thompson would come back. If you get a serious injury at another position, you have a big man you could trade if you wanted to come up with another great player. Keep that in mind.
Always one step ahead, Mike. Always one step ahead. In the final series, the Cavs were almost, I don't want to use the word baited, but they were sort of lured into going to that smaller lineup against the Golden State Warriors. Golden State had so much success with that. How do you stay true to who you really are best as an NBA team? And what is this Cavs team in terms of their very best as an attack offense?
They would like to play ultimately when they get that man back running the show with the point guard, Kyrie Irving, and have their full complement of players. They would like to control. It's all about pace and tempo for them. They'd like to push the ball down the floor. They are not going to be hesitant or reluctant to shoot three-point shots because they have very good shooters from behind the line. They don't mind playing a 110, 115-point game because they're capable of scoring that many points, and they believe that their defense will be better this year than it was last year and be able to hold people to what they will consider the right number once they get to that point. So what you have is this team is really deep and really talented, and the biggest thing for them is how fast and how well will these players come back from the injuries that they've sustained.
Well, Mozgov certainly made an impact upon arriving to the Cavaliers. He made them instantly bigger. He had a rim protector and just a real presence down low. And these are the defensive statistics for the NBA playoffs, Mike. On the plus side, rebound differential, second chance points. The offensive rebounds, Tristan Thompson, such a big part of that. And see what the opponent shows.
You know, Vince, I want to go back and finish addressing your last question about, you know, what do you do as far as downsizing, or do you play bigger? And sometimes you have to do what you're capable of doing with the players that you have. And at the end of the year, with, you know, Mozgov was suffering from that knee that he eventually got operated on. The loss of Kyrie Irving being so critical to them, the loss of Kevin Love. What they had to do was control the tempo, try and keep the score down, play great defense, rebound the basketball, and then hope that LeBron James was going to pull off. And look, they were, remember, up 2-1 in the finals, which very easily could have been 3-0 in Cleveland's favor, okay, that first game going into the overtime. So they lost that 2-1 lead. Golden State realized that, you know what, we're not going to beat them going big. We don't know if they can match us up going small without Kyrie being there. So when Golden State downsized a little bit, it caused problems for Cleveland to match them up. But David Blatt had to make a decision. What's our best chance of beating this team? That's what the head coach has to do.
And let's listen to the head coach once again.
Don't follow him like this. We never put us up in a position that all right. So take it to the middle. Basically, take it here. Big man. Top lane. So you can get up to that stuff position, all right? Exactly. Especially if you're going away from the ball right here. We don't need to be body with them. We need to be opening ourselves up and seeing all the action. Like Ron said, get back in the position we need to be in. Here we go. Ball.
That's it, JR. Good, Jay. Back, Austin. Atta baby. Atta baby. Atta baby. Good work, Chase. Good work. Talk. Sprint to the elbow. King was 60%. King was 60%. Well, you know, he didn't do anything all summer because of his knee surgery and everything else. So he just kind of. But he'll get there. He'll get. He just don't think he's in shape. You know, usually in the summers he's playing national team. He comes in great shape. He's just not in shape. Good work, fellas. Good work. Good work. Coach, you want to flip him?
All right, it's interesting, Mike. We were eavesdropping there, and David Blatt saying of Timofey Mozgov, he's at 60% right now. That's how he sees him. He had that right knee cleaned out and said he wasn't as active this summer and he's not in shape, not in game shape that he needs to be right now. So those are the little things that would take you inside on a real training camp.
Yeah, remember, he had coached him for the national team, okay, from Russia before this, so he knows what this young man is capable of. And he was a great confidence builder in this young man when he came over from the Knicks to join Cleveland last year. And he was referring there to the fact that each summer he would go play for the national team, which would play into the first or second week of September usually. So then when he reported to the NBA camp, he was in pretty good shape. Well, he didn't do that this past summer. He was recovering from the surgery. So it's going to take him a while. And Mozgov has said, I'll be ready for the opener. But they want to make sure that they don't push this guy too much. They've got bigs, and if Thompson does return and sign his contract, they're going to be protected there. They want to make sure that down the stretch, this guy's healthy and ready to go full speed.
I want to examine more of his game coming up later in the program here. But, Mike, real quick, what a luxury to be able to have LeBron James as an instructor, player instructor on the floor, and taking that time to show exactly and demonstrate what he is looking for the club to do.
Defense is trusting your teammate, and LeBron knows that they're going to get into critical games big plays down the stretch, and you have to trust each other that you're going to do the right thing. So he was just breaking down that one play that when the cutter comes down the middle and the ball goes away and the cutter goes out opposite, you don't want to follow him underneath the screen away from the ball. He was saying that you let your big man tag him. Tag means kind of put a little forearm into him to slow the cutter up. And then you can then go over the top of the screen away from the ball if they should reverse it back again. So a little bit of teaching by LeBron.
And more of that coming up as Real Training Camp Cleveland Cavaliers continues on NBA TV and streaming live on Facebook. Mike Fratello, Vince Cellini sitting in with you. There's much more ahead from Independence, Ohio.
Show me something, Timo. Timo. I'm not waiting for the dribble that back door. No. It's just on the catch. Oh, through. You're right. Through. Right. It's my fault. Flare. It's the through action. Okay, look. Got you, look. Tag. Stunt. Good. Trap. Get your rebound, Sash. Hey, Dele. That's all I needed was a hand. That's all I needed was a hand. Oh, here we go. That's all I needed. That's it. I told you, give me a hand. Just give me a hand up.
We want to thank both James Jones and J.R. Smith for donning the microphone for us for our Real Training Camp here in Cleveland. And we are back with you, Vince Cellini, Mike Fratello. And joining us is the fine Cavs beat writer from the Akron Beacon Journal. Jason Lloyd is with us. Good to see you.
Good to be here. Thanks for having me.
Let's start with the Tristan Thompson watch, which I know you have been on. Is there anything that you can enlighten us with regarding where they stand, team and Tristan?
You know, as far as I know, they're still far apart. Obviously, it has till midnight tonight to sign the qualifying offer, or that comes off the table. The Cavs can't extend it. I don't see why they would. You know, it is what it is right now. I think if the Cavs were going to come up, they would have by now. You know, if they're going to get something done long term, I think it's going to be Tristan coming down a little bit. And there's ways to save face and come down. You know, you can give them $1 million for making an all-star team. You give them $3 million for winning an MVP, just so they can say they got 85, 86 when maybe the actual value is a little bit lower than that. You know, I don't know. I don't know if we're going to see him tomorrow or not. I guess the best thing I can say is LeBron, for as calculated and measured with everything that he says, because he knows every word that he says is dissected and parsed, particularly in a situation like this. 2 days in a row, LeBron said he's optimistic something will get done long term. And you know, take the man at his word, I guess, because that's a pretty strong statement from LeBron under the situation. And LeBron's remained pretty quiet on this whole Tristan thing. You know, he put pressure on the Phoenix Suns last year with Eric Bledsoe and said pay him. And in this situation, he's been very hands-off. He hasn't really been very forceful one way or the other. And it's been telling, I think, that he hasn't really pressured the Cavs publicly or privately.
Well, let's face it, Jason, his agent is the same agent that is representing Thompson. So
Sure.
You know, for our viewers out there, he's in a tough spot because depending on what happens, fingers are going to point to LeBron that he was involved behind the scenes in what took place. Knowing the relationship that Thompson has with LeBron and what they were like last year, it to me almost seems like Tristan's letting LeBron down in a certain aspect, that LeBron is playing for another championship. He's building that legacy.
Right.
And a very important part of all that happening and being successful is for Tristan Thompson to return to this team. The longer he holds out, the more he's hurting, the ability of this team to move forward and become the championship team that they want to be. I have never been big on guys holding out because I've always felt maybe one or two of them escape, but it always seems like some kind of injury winds up happening to a guy that holds out too long.
Yeah, you know, it's funny you mentioned LeBron, and LeBron always seems to side with the players. If you go back to Carlos Boozer, when Carlos Boozer left Cleveland and the whole debacle, LeBron never was critical of Carlos. He's a player. He's going to side with the players. He wants the players to maximize their value. But like you said, his window is narrowing in winning a championship, and he knows how important Tristan is to this team. And frankly, on the surface, it certainly appears that the Cavs offer is more than fair. you can't pay a guy max money who can't shoot. And I've been a big Tristan supporter.
And doesn't start.
And doesn't start. He was a starter before they got Kevin. But just the fact that, a max player needs to be a player who cannot easily be replaced. And I think it's a little bit easier to replace what Tristan does than what a max, when you're talking of a caliber player of Kyrie Irving or LeBron James or Kevin Love. I've been one of Tristan's biggest supporters since he's been here, but frankly, he's just not in that category of players. You can't pay a guy $94 million who can't make a 10-foot shot on a consistent basis. But there's so many other things that he does that's vital to this team. The way that he can defend the pick and roll, the way he can switch on the guards, obviously his rebounding ability. There's no question he fills a huge void that this team desperately needs this year if they're going to be as good as they can be. Personally, I think if you injected the Cavs with truth serum, I think they'd want him to take the qualifying offer because it's going to save them tens of millions in taxes. If they're only paying him $8 million as compared to $16 million or more, that's tens of millions in savings in taxes this year, and then they can reevaluate it again after the season.
If we're correct, reportedly the Cavs have offered him 5 years at around $80 million. That's what's come out in the papers. That's what they're talking about. So if you take that and break it down over 5 years, in year 4 and 5, it's probably a decent contract for the Cavaliers for where the money's going to be at that time, because at the end of this year, everybody's talking about how much it's going to shoot up the cap for teams. So looking down the road, it becomes a good contract.
Absolutely.
And a tradable contract at that point if they wanted to trade him.
And from Tristan's perspective, look at this from his perspective. Last year at this time, the annual value was $13 million. The Cavs were offering about $13 million a year annually on average. Now they're at $16. So if you wait one more year, what is it going to be next year when the cap explodes, when he would be unrestricted if he were to take the qualifying offer? They seem to think that they can secure a max deal from another team. But $73 million is an awful lot of money to walk away from. Now, Tristan is a great kid. He works hard. He's never hurt. He's got one of the longest streaks in the league for consecutive games played. That's an enormous risk. I'm all about guys gambling on themselves, but what an enormous risk that would be to walk away from that much guaranteed money. But like I said, the offer, he's already gone from $13 million guaranteed last year to $16 million now. If he does play this out, if he does take the qualifying offer and go into free agency next year, and what is a pretty weak class, and with a lot of teams with a lot of money to spend, he might be able to find when to cash in and pay him.
All right, let's switch the subject a little bit. And Kyrie Irving, who has, again, no timetable for his return, but what are you seeing in terms of ballpark and how he's easing his way back? When might we see Kyrie Irving back on the floor?
There was some speculation earlier that maybe January. I think it's going to be a little bit sooner than that. From everyone I've talked to, I think it'll be sooner than that. Certainly, I don't think it's going to be opening night. Cavs don't need him opening night. Obviously they need this team healthy for April, May, and June, not November and December. So once you start putting a timeline on things, if you don't hit it, people are going to start asking why. And then you start talking about setbacks and everything else. So I understand why they're being cautious, why they're running away from any sort of timeline. They don't want to put any pressure on any of these guys. That goes for Kevin as well, and even Timo, who had his knee cleaned out. They don't want to put any pressure on these guys so that if suddenly you miss that deadline, everyone starts wondering why and what's going on with these guys. So it makes perfect sense.
It takes the pressure off of Kyrie.
Absolutely.
Okay, look, let's face it, all the players are involved somehow with social media. They're reading it somewhere or hearing it somewhere, and they don't want to have to see every day, oh, he's due back next week, he's due back next week. So put it way down the road, make it January, and then when the time comes, you back off and you go, oh, things happened, good things for us, he's here.
Good stuff. Jason Lloyd of the Akron Beacon Journal. Always good to read you, follow you on Twitter.
Thanks for having me.
Local guy made good. And the best dressed of the three here on the set. Let's send it back to the floor.
I love that option. Good option. Good execution. Nice job. Sasha, very good.
Hey, go away.
I told you. That guy can play, man. Good, Sasha. Go. Basket good going down, Sasha. Going down. Go. Hey, shh. Fellas, if you're overplayed, cut back door. Don't fight that. Just let the next guy play. Purple on offense, red on defense. Don't fight the pressure. Just cut back door. If you're overplayed, cut back door. Don't fight the pressure. Hold it. Listen, guards, Mo and Quinn, Jared, your position should be lane line extended towards the half court there, almost like an angle position. That's where you should be. All right, gives you a better angle to pass here and here. All right, let's go. Good cut, Jared. Jared. Yes, exactly. Exactly. Great cut, Jared. Great cut. Nice pass, Chris. Go ahead. Go. We're going, Red. Oh, I thought that was the second one. That wasn't the second one? No, foul's the basket. We're playing. Go, 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 go. Away. Be screeners. Run it again. Run it again. Be good passers now. Come on. Nice. Nice, Braun. Very nice. Red ball right here. White in on D. Red basketball. Well, run the through wedge. Through wedge.
Mike, take us through what we were
wedge.
watching there through trained eyes and
you're
what
coming
David
back
Blatt
up
is
to get
trying
the
to
big,
accomplish
right?
for the audience.
Earlier they had done their breakdown stuff, meaning 4-on-4 defense against whatever movement that the coaches had put in. Now they're 5-on-5, okay, and David Blatt putting one of their half-court sets in. So they're working at two things. One, they're putting a set in offensively, trying to get the execution and spacing down, understanding where they're going to be. And then you have another coach who's in charge of the defense right now, how they're defending screen downs, how they're defending baseline screens. And if you get a stop, meaning if the offensive team shoots and misses, they want to rebound, kick out, run a fast break, so there's a transition opportunity to the other end of the floor.
I'd like to bring in a little conversation about another newcomer for the Cavs, and we touched on it a little bit, and that's Richard Jefferson, Mike, who's starting his 15th year, 7th NBA team, but just a good quality pro, career about 14 points a game, 4.3 rebounds. He's going to help with their three-point shooting, can still do that, and in the number of minutes that he will play this year, he's going to be very effective for a guy at this stage in his career, and just what he brings in terms of being a professional.
Let's go back to last season. Two players that they lost from the roster of last year, Mike Miller, Sean Marion, two guys that could play big guard if they had to, small forward most naturally, and if they wanted to go real small, they could play him as a four-man. And both of those guys had been, Mike Miller, a terrific three-point shooter early in his career. Sean Marion did not provide the three-point shooting last year that they thought they might get out of him. So as a result, Jefferson comes in. You could play him at small forward. You could play him at the two guard now with the injuries that Cleveland has incurred during the beginning of the season. And you'll have a rotation back there of Mo Williams, J.R. Smith, Della Vedova, and Richard Jefferson if you want to play those four people in the backcourt.
And still a very good player, very solid player. In fact, last year he led Dallas in three-point percentage, 43% from beyond the arc. So there's a lot left in the tank. But when you get a team like this, Mike, that's coming off a finals appearance, it can't just be anybody, right, that you plug in. I mean, it can't be all about numbers. It has to be a fit, does it not, in order for someone to come in and acclimate to what you're trying to do?
You've got to have people that understand who they are, what their role is with the team, what their role is in the locker room, what their role is in practice every day. You need those good soldiers out there. And the players that Cleveland did not bring back, we talked about Marion, we talked about Mike Miller, Brandon Haywood. These were good soldiers, okay? Kendrick Perkins, veteran guys who understood what this is all about, all wanting to be a piece to help them win a championship, and that every day that they're practicing hard and then they go to the game next night, don't get minutes in the game, they're not going to be complaining. They're going to be a problem in the locker room. These are professionals who understood what their roles are, and that's what you're getting in Richard Jefferson.
Yeah, and you ask this group, and they'll tell you it is a good bunch in terms of the mix, the chemistry of this team. And early on, everybody pointed in the same direction. Cleveland Clinic Courts, that's where we are in Independence, Ohio. Real training camp with the Cavs in beautiful Cleveland, Ohio. Great fall day. Great to be with you. Be right back. We are back and being simulcast on Facebook on our NBA TV page. We asked for a question, and we received from Matthew Nardelli, who asks, out of all the West contenders, which team would be the toughest for the Cavs to face in the NBA Finals? Hashtag Cavs RTC. Mike, which of the West contenders? The champions? Golden State Warriors? Oklahoma City Thunder? The Spurs? A lot of possibilities.
Can I give you 5 that jump out right away? Besides Golden State, the Clippers, Oklahoma City's going to return to be one of the best teams in the league. Houston, San Antonio, obviously. There's 5 to start out with that could make it to the finals.
I'm wondering if the Cavs are healthy, is Golden State a favorable matchup for the Cavaliers if the Cavs are completely healthy?
Well, the style of play will be one that, will. Obviously, it was so great for Golden State last year. It's a style of play that relies on, starts with great defense. We kind of put that on the back burner and don't think about that when we think about Golden State, but it should be, because that's where it starts with them. They were a terrific defensive team. Then at the offensive end, the barrage of three-point shots. If they don't make those shots, it's a different game. You're running out, you're in transition against them, but that's if they don't make them. They did make them last year, and they're the world champs.
Well, we've been able to bring you some really good stuff with the fellas we have mic'd up out there, including head coach David Blatt. So once again, let's eavesdrop.
Daly.
Away.
Get him, Andy, get him. Good, Richard. Nice. Good job. We're going. Shot. Ooh. Stay down, Richard. Stay down.
Joe. Come on, Joe.
You made 1,500 catch-and-shoot threes since practice started.
Got the green light, man. Okay, you know where you catch and shoot those. Okay. All right. Let's go. Purple, ready? Run away. Good screen. Nice. Hey, that's a great screen, Chris Johnson. That's a great screen. Good job. Good job. Wait a minute, stop. Nick, you got to start in your position. Where are you now? Nick, where's your position? Your position is here. Yeah, come on out here. And you're going to walk him in. You want to get into Jay's body early. And then you want to go get. If he's cheating, you can slip. But start in your position. All right? Let's go. Good, Nick. Good. Come on, Nick. All right. We're going. We're going. Spacing. Good cut, JJ. Next. Go get it. Go, Tebow. Oh, I love it. Basket. I love it. All right. Gentlemen, get a drink. Coach, 3 teams will go side and baseline out. I'm going to cut that short. Yeah. All right.
Mike, I'm just wondering what you sense differently, even in how David Blatt is conducting practices this year as opposed to that first year and easing his way in.
He relies heavily on his assistants. He gives them a lot of responsibility. And then you see him going over and he'll take a young man, give him a word of encouragement. You heard him say, you got a green light. He doesn't want people turning down shots, fearing that, oh, the coach is going to be upset that I took a shot. You got a green light. If you're open, shoot the basketball. Trying to give the players the confidence that they need to be good shooters. And you saw a little adjustment on the run right there. He just mentioned to his assistant coach, I'm going to cut back on this next segment. I think they're going to work on side and under out right now, out of bounds plays. with 3 different groups, first group up, second group up, third group up, like that. We'll see if they do it live or if they do it skeleton.
Red and white. Watch out. 3-point shot is 2-point shot. 2-point shot is 1-point shot. Ready? Up and down. Up and down. Go. Basic! Basic! Good, Joe. Got a box top. Turn it. Run, run. Corners! Corners! I love it. Bring it out.
Vince, the referral to side and under out, that could be the next segment that they're coming up to. They already had announced this segment. So what you have is 3 consecutive trips. You're playing 5-on-5 defense. When the shot goes up by the offensive team now turns into defense. And the defensive team attacks. So you have 1 trip in the half-court area, 1 trip back full court, and then make or miss another trip back down the other way. So after the initial half-court play, you have 2 full-court trips, one way and back the other way. So the team that starts on offense plays half-court and in the end plays full-court coming back at them.
And one of the things you mentioned earlier is that David Blatt and company all monitoring the working back of some of these players that are coming back through injury. You have to not get over-enthusiastic about what you're doing in terms of the drills. And, Mike, the players fight you sometimes, too. They want to do more. The Mozgovs. I mean, we saw Kevin Love in an earlier drill that you were like, he had to be told, no, stand aside for this one. There might be contact at this point.
You know, early in training camp, teams are bringing in 20 players to try and make, you know, the roster, the final roster cut. And sometimes early it becomes too many players because everybody's trying to get a repetition. You're trying to get teams, you know, with 20 players, you've got 4 teams of 5 players. It makes it difficult sometimes to get through it all. That's why if you have a facility that has 2 full courts, you can let 10 players on the one court, 10 players on the other court, 5 against 5. They can go at the same time if you want to get through it, get repetitions, and keep the practice to a certain amount of time.
But I think one guy who never lets up off the throttle is Matthew Dellavedova, who returns to the Cavs. And, of course, the 19 points, Chicago, Game 6 of their playoff series, makes him an all-timer here in Cleveland. He probably never have to buy a cold beer in town again. And as soon as he opens up the Matthew Dellavedova sporting goods store here on the near west side, I'm sure that's down the line as well. But what will we see from the man who led the league in irritation last year?
This is, first of all, one of the all-time great people that you'll ever meet. I just did a charity event with him this past weekend. He was up there for 2 hours before the event started. For the VIPs that came to it, wound up signing autographs, taking pictures with everyone. He is in incredible shape. He came back here. This is a big year for him because he signed a 1-year deal. Next year, as you've mentioned already a couple of times, Vince, salaries are going up next year. So as a free agent at the end of this season, obviously, if he can play and play well, his value hopefully will go up and he'll be rewarded for how hard he's worked. And you know, ironically now, with Kyrie starting out on the bench and Shumpert starting out on the bench to start the season, he's right in there in the rotation. If everyone's healthy, he could be the 5th guard in the backcourt. If Kyrie and Shumpert are starting and then backed up by Mo and JR, then where does Dellavedova fit in? Well, coaches don't worry about that because it seems like something always happens. And he was called on last year and asked to produce, and he certainly did a sensational job of filling in when Kyrie Irving went down.
Mike, there are Matthew Dellavedova critics, too, outside of the city of Cleveland and for other teams. Does he get an unfair rap in terms of how he plays the game? Some say it's reckless or dangerous. What do you say?
That's his way of being in the NBA right now. He has to play all out on every play. He understands that. and he understands what his role is within his team. He's got to be able to make an open shot when they give it to him. At the same time, he's got to be a guy who's a pest on defense. He has to annoy. Look, you see him frustrating the other team right there. Sticks his nose, goes after loose balls, gets down on the floor. I mean, there was nothing dirty about that. One guy went to the floor hard. Korver reached in that time, and that's what happens. There you see a dirty play where intentionally, okay, Horford lands on his head and bounces his head off the ground. That's what he does. Isn't that what Bill Laimbeer did for years when he was in Detroit? He bothered other big men, got him frustrated, made him get technical fouls. But he did his part to help them win a championship. That's what Delly's trying to do.
I don't think bother is a strong enough word in talking about Laimbeer, but I get it. And as a head coach, Mike, what kind of an asset is it to be able to put a player on the floor that at least makes you think a little bit? He may take you out of your game, the gamesmanship that's involved with a Delly.
I think the bottom line is just look at how his teammates feel about him, how much respect they have for him. And that tells you what kind of guy he is and what kind of player he is and how valuable he is to his team when all of his teammates embrace him the way they do.
Of the hosts on NBA TV, who would be the Matthew Dellavedova of the NBA TV hosts?
Nice pass, JR.
You looking at him?
Yeah, you might be. Yeah, you might be.
Thanks, I think. We'll be right back with more Real Training Camp. Cleveland Cavaliers in a moment.
Cellini, Dellavedova.
Up on the top side. Make him go that way. All right. Don't let him try to hit you and come back. The only way he can go.
Back door, he got to go through your chest, and he ain't nowhere to go.
On the initial closeout, make sure my left foot is higher.
Yeah. Okay. Put that left. Because you want that left foot all the way over here. Make sure you get that left leg up. Forcing him all the way. You give him like this, he can go either way. Okay. You know what I'm saying? You want to start dunking on people like that, huh? Camera come in, you want to dunk? That's crazy. Camera come in, all of a sudden he want to dunk on people. They're all disrespectful. Good D, RJ! Oh, let me see something. New Jersey Nets, RJ. Oh, okay. I used to be in high school watching RJ and Kmart. They had Jersey popping for real. What? Them RJ, J Kidd, and Kmart in them? They had Jersey popping.
Oh, that's funny. From J.R. Smith talking about Richard Jefferson. And he's so entertaining. And I highly suggest you follow J.R. on Instagram because you just never know.
Well, remember, Richard Jefferson was part of that Jersey team that went to the finals 2 years in a row. Jason Kidd was the leader of that team. And J.R. Smith was a youngster watching, because he's from Jersey, he watched that team as he was growing up playing ball in high school.
I want to talk about the longest tenured member of the Cleveland Cavaliers. We haven't talked about him yet, and that's Anderson Varejao. He enters his 12th season, missed 56 games because of the Achilles injury, Mike, and set to come back and start a 3-year, $30 million extension with the team. Played 27 games last year, but here he is, the longest tenured player. What is his role going to be as he returns to this Cavs team?
Well, he's one of those guys that fits the slot that I was talking about earlier, where he understands that, look, we've got a lot of big people here, particularly when Thompson comes back. And where am I going to fit in here? The one thing he's not going to be a distraction to this team. He's a real pro. He's a guy that his teammates really love. Yet at the same time, he's also a bargaining chip. If a team, maybe in the Western Conference, has an injury to a big man and they need a big man, and if Cleveland feels that they've got their other big guys intact, Connor's here, Thompson's here, obviously Mozgov is here, and Love, maybe they feel that they could use him and trade him to get something, whether it's a pick down the road or another player back in return that's younger, less miles on him, could be part of the future of the Cavaliers.
What a nice player to have. Obviously, Andy does so many things very, very well. Guys, I wonder if we could pan down here. I want to see if he's wearing any special extra protection for the Achilles or on those shoes. Yeah, those look like those are extra highs. Yeah, those look like
and he may
look like he may do a little boxing in those.
He may have had a brace on earlier also, that because they're just going to their shooting now to finish up the practice. He may have taken that brace off already since he knows he's done running for the day. But you think about him, Thompson, okay, offensive rebounders on the glass. My goodness, they've got guys who really go after the basketball to give you second, third shot opportunities.
And once again, it gives versatility to a Cavs team that can go with a bigger lineup or go smaller. And Mike, of some of the newcomers that we have mentioned, and I guess you can include Andy in that to a certain extent because he missed so much time, who do you think will be most impactful for the Cavs? Would it be a Mo Williams or Richard Jefferson, or who do you think that's stepping in? Sasha Khan?
We're talking, three guys basically that are newcomers to this team: Williams, Khan, and Jefferson. And to me, the most important one right now becomes Mo Williams, because he's the guy with Kyrie Irving out. We don't know when Kyrie is due to return. Mo Williams is the guy who's going to handle the ball, bring it down. Are going to be asked to defend the opposing point guards. We've got a number of great point guards in the NBA right now. So he's got a big role to fill here while Kyrie is getting ready to return. So to me, he probably could be and will be the most impactful one of the new ones.
He signed a 2-year contract, and he looks a little bit leaner, and that's because he's taken off some 12 pounds getting ready for the season. And Mike, that's been a trend with players now leaning up. Talked to Al Jefferson about that. Kevin Love has lost some weight, and guys, as they get to a certain point in their career and really age-wise, less is more.
I think LeBron looks very thin coming into training camp to me. I think he looks thinner to me here than he did when he finished the last season. So could be following what you just said, players and the training staffs and the diets that they're eating. So these players at this facility, which is an unbelievably great facility that Cleveland has, they come in 6:30 in the morning. There's a full-time chef here that cooks the meals for them. So they order what they want. He cooks it. Obviously, the dietitian plans out what's best for them, and so many of them bought into it, and they see the durability of that man right there. And if he's doing it and it's working well for him, let's follow what he's doing.
Yeah, LeBron talked about September workouts, doing 3-a-days, 5 days a week in terms of getting ready for the season. He's shredded right now, that's for sure.
Yeah, he went down to Miami and then called up X number of teammates and said, why don't you come down here and we can work out down here. So whereas they had a number of players here working out during the early part of the summer, towards those last 3 or 4 weeks, the only ones that were here were the new people that were brought in to fill out and make it a 20-man or 22-man practice roster going into it. Veteran guys that LeBron had called and invited down went down to Florida, met him down there, and they worked out together down there.
Mike, this is a 53-win team a year ago, and of course 4-2 losing to Golden State in the finals. I don't know if I've even asked you this question, but would you say that they are head and shoulders above the rest of the East? I mean, at this point, and whom might be a challenger in the Eastern Conference to the Cavs' crown?
They are clearly the favorites in the Eastern Conference, even with the injuries now that they have, and they're waiting for the players to heal back up again. But when you look around at the other teams, I think Miami is going to be more than just respectable this season. Chicago Bulls, who obviously were dealt a blow with Derrick Rose having the surgery yesterday on the occipital bone that was broken. The elbow caught him in practice. I think Toronto has made themselves a tougher team, more physical team than they were a year ago. Brooklyn could be pretty interesting with some of the pieces that they've picked up to go along with Lopez and Joe Johnson. I like some of the moves Boston made. I think Boston's going to be a much improved team. Milwaukee last year played with such great enthusiasm. They're athletic, they're young, they're long. I expect them to be a little bit better. And then Washington, I'm kind of anxious to see with Paul Pierce moving on, who takes over that role of leadership and who fills that slot that Paul Pierce left open for him.
Is there any vulnerability to this Cavs team? In other words, they don't repeat if what might happen to them?
The only things that can happen to them if there's a serious injury or they wind up imploding, meaning that within the team somebody doesn't get along with somebody else on the team and they have problems in the locker room, that can ruin your chances to be a championship team. But this team right now, they like each other. They like playing with each other. They got the same mindset of how much energy and effort they're supposed to put in every day. And that's because of the example being set by LeBron James. So it's smooth sailing right now. It's the beginning of the season. It's during the tough times that you find out what those teams are made of and how the locker room is going to go. But otherwise, this Cavs team has a great opportunity. If everybody returns, that they're counting on to be a championship team.
Well, each season is a journey, and you might recall the Cavs were 19-20 in mid-January and lost 6 in a row before they turned that around and made that final push into spring and the postseason. And one of the things that helped them get there was the three-point shot. During the regular season, only Houston, Mike, fired up more three-pointers than the Cavs. So how big will that be in terms of their offensive arsenal, or will that be just a piece of what they're trying to do?
Well, it seems that every NBA player wants to be a three-point shooter now. I mean, that's the thing. For a while, started out you post up, then it was, okay, your pick and roll stuff taking place, and then it was all dunking the basketball. Now it's three-point shots. You've got your 7-footers who want to go out and shoot three-pointers. Dirk Nowitzki may have brought that along with him when he came from Germany and joined. But it's something that right now it's a major factor, and you add a coach who came from Europe with that mentality of shooting a lot of threes. That's why they're up there as high as they are.
And we see what happened after Shumpert and J.R. Smith came aboard in early January, the three-point attempts going way up. Shumpert's an interesting case. It's unfortunate he had that kind of a setback, Mike, and he's had a series of injuries, let's face it, during the course of his NBA career. That's a long time to be out and not have a guy who's just offense aside, that's not his calling card. He's a good perimeter defender for you, and I wonder how much of an impact that makes on a team like this.
Shumpert gave him toughness at the defensive end of the floor. He improved his three-point shooting as he developed more confidence, and I would imagine the coach gave him that green light that, look, don't be afraid to shoot the three. We've got to hurt people from behind the arc, and that'll open up the driving lanes for Kyrie, for LeBron James to put the ball on the floor and get to the basket. Once they collapse the defense, that's where those guys have to spot up behind the three-point line and be ready to make shots. So he's such an important piece. It was just a great trade that was made by Dave Griffin, their GM, during the season last year, which, as you mentioned, they did not start out setting the world on fire, but there was so many new pieces, new coaching staff. They were right around that 500 mark. But when they came back from the All-Star break, that team gelled. The trade was a sensational trade, and they wound up playing the best basketball down the stretch.
Well, as you see, practice is wrapping up at the Cleveland Clinic courts as the guys are getting their free throw work in, and we're going to step away from Real Training Camp Cleveland. There's a shot of the Q, downtown Cleveland, one of Cleveland's finest on traffic duty. And not far from there is Jacobs Field. Progressive Field. I'm sorry. It was Jacobs Field when I was here. It's Progressive Field. Excuse me. Old habits die hard. We are back at Real Training Camp in Cleveland. NBA preseason action coming your way on NBA TV. Friday at 10:30 Eastern Time, Nuggets and Clippers, and Sunday at 9, Jazz at the Lakers. And we'll be right back. We're going to talk with David Blatt on the other side of the break.
What are the decisions, David, that will keep you up at night?
You know, as a coach, I think everything keeps us up at night, first of all. You know, the three main differences between being a professional player and a professional coach are when you start coaching, suddenly you worry a lot more. Secondly, you sleep a lot less. And finally, the moment you get the head coaching job, suddenly everybody knows more than you do. So you got to deal with that right off the bat.
And that was good stuff back in the summer from our open court series. And David Blatt getting a laugh from the rest of the head coaches who sat around, did a little round table for us. And he's kind enough not only to wear the microphone during Real Training Camp on the court, but stepping in with us right now. We welcome in Cavs coach David Blatt. Good to see you, Coach.
Good to see you guys.
You said that you're starting this season in a better place. What did you mean by that?
Well, we have a team that has 11 returning contract players. We have a group that is familiar with each other, both in terms of the staff and in terms of the players. I think we have a level of confidence and comfort in what it is that we're doing. And, you know, hope runs eternal. We got pretty far last year, and that showed us that we're capable of doing great things. And with the new season starting and with the
aforementioned continuity and the additional players that we brought in, guys are excited. Guys are excited about what we can accomplish.
Outside of the injuries, the number one topic now is Tristan Thompson. Where is he? When's he coming back? He means what to this team?
Well, first of all, Tristan means a great deal. He was a big part of our success last season. He was our gray area champion. You know, he did all the little things that are hard to draw up and are difficult to find in the statistics that you look at. He's a great guy too. He's a guy that we all really, really love and appreciate. And you know, we want to see him here. It's unusual to come into camp without Tristan being here. But the hope is that very shortly he'll be coming through the doors and we'll start working as normal.
David, how has your relationship with LeBron changed, not only through the course of last season and everything you went through, but over the summer and now as we open up this year? Where would you say it is and where is it going?
Well, I think it's fine. I think it's great. You know, people make a lot out of a lot of different things, but Bron and I are two guys that have very much the same mindset and very much the same goal. And we're about trying to help each other achieve that and about helping the team get to where we want it to go. He's the greatest player in the game. It's an honor for any coach to coach him. It's an experience that not many have, and it's a good kind of challenge. And I'm excited about it every day.
We saw him out there in the practice trying to help some of the younger guys explain, you know, this is the way we do it defensively. He wasn't afraid to walk out there on the court, kind of stop the situation at that moment and explain, you know, don't do it that way, do it this way, and then told him the reason why you're doing it that way, which helps our defense be better.
And I think that's a good thing. You know, I think that players coaching players is a very big and positive thing when it's the right guys doing it who are saying the right things, and he certainly is that in both cases.
Let's go back to your feeling last year when you started the job, day one, practice court. Here I am, and a team that had evolved into a different team than you thought you were coming in here to coach initially, to walking out there day one this year. What was the difference in your mind?
Kind of like coming home and recognizing the furniture as opposed to walk into a place you've never seen before. You don't even know where to go to sleep. You know, so obviously I'm in a much higher comfort level. I feel very confident in the things that we're doing and the things that I'm doing, and it's just great to know the guys that I'm working with and to know what to expect at any moment. And again, I'm just very excited about the group that we have and about the possibilities that are there for us.
Coach, thanks so much for letting us come here and kind of watch practice and wearing the microphone, like I said, and it means so much, I know, to the city, and everybody's really excited. Definitely, you know, ready to rev it up and go, and I know you sense that as well.
Great having you guys. Thank you.
Appreciate that. All right, David Blatt joining us here to discuss the upcoming season. We appreciate that. It's the sophomore season with the Cleveland Cavaliers.
Wouldn't you be excited?
Absolutely.
What's not to be excited about? You have to go into the finals. You're shorthanded. You almost pulled it off. You're up 2-1 in that series. You got the best player in the game in LeBron James. They've added some veteran pieces to make your roster deeper and stronger than it was a year ago. Yeah, you're missing a couple guys to start out the season, but they're going to get back. They'll be healthy. And then watch out, rest of the league.
Well, it just seems like there's a more of a calmness, I guess, to the entire situation. You know, we've been there. We understand what it takes to go there, and this team is understanding what this step is in terms of getting back.
I think that's a great word you just used there, the calmness, because the whole staff coming together new a year ago, the team coming together with so many new pieces on it a year ago, the team that had a losing mentality, okay, going into last season, and then all of a sudden LeBron comes and Kevin Love joins him, and Kyrie takes a step up in his game and becomes, yeah, he was an all-star before that, but he was a better player last year than he was the previous seasons in the league, and you make this great run down the stretch to reach the NBA Finals. This is exciting. It's an exciting time. You mentioned the city's excited, but if you're in that locker room, if you're a coaching staff or player, they have to be excited with the opportunity that's in front of them. But they also have to understand it's not going to be given. The NBA season is a long season with a lot of potholes in it. You got to work your way through that to get to the playoffs.
I know one player is very excited to be back at a stint 2008 to 10 with the Cleveland Cavaliers, and he's with us now, kind enough to join us. Mo, good to see you, Mo Williams.
Thanks, man.
You
How
look,
you doing, Mike?
you look good. Dropped some weight, right?
Yeah, feel good. Feel great.
And who knew that it would be even more on your plate starting the season now? It looks like you'll be the quarterback.
Absolutely. You know what? When I made the decision to come back here, that was one of the conversations that we had, and they told me that there was a chance that Kyrie could be out a minute. So at that point, I had to retrain my mind and obviously come into camp in great weight shape, so I can be able to get in basketball shape when I get in camp. You know, so a lot of players do it backwards. You know, they come to camp and try to do both. And I think right now they're going to need me early on, so I have to be ready.
You know, go back to your first stay here in Cleveland, and you guys almost got it done back then, but you didn't quite get it done. And now you come back and look at this team compared to the last team. What do you say?
Well, obviously we're more star-studded. You know, as far as players that not just a good nucleus of guys, but we have some star power on this team. And bringing me back, I'm in a different role than I was back the first time. You know, I was the second option, and I was asked to do a lot. This time around, we got guys like Kyrie and Kevin and obviously Bron. You know, those are three guys. We're going to ride them the whole season. But at the end of the day, I come right in a role where I'm very familiar with, that I've been in the last few years, and more so than last time. This time around, I'm in a better place as a basketball player because I'm more experienced, more older. The first time I was here, the first time I experienced playoff basketball was here, and we're playing for a championship. So I didn't even get a warm up, So I use that as a way to get better, and I'm faced with the opportunity again, and I'm just in a better place.
Well, an interesting story appeared today about the fact that when LeBron decided to leave and go to Miami, you were hurt by that. You saw it as the team obviously wasn't going to be as strong without him. You actually mentioned that you thought about maybe retiring from basketball at that time, and a little bit of separation between you two took place, and it had to be repaired, and you were able to get that thing worked out.
Well, I mean, obviously what happened and what we talked about is between us, but what I would say is, when you're young and obviously, you go through things and you do things and you learn from them. You learn from them. I think that time in my life, that was the first time in the NBA that I experienced success at that level, becoming an all-star, being with an organization that I envisioned myself retiring with and competing for a championship. So that was a huge blow to me at the time, but I think I grew up as a man through that process through over the years, and I was the one to reach out to him, to obviously have that conversation with him, and it went great, and obviously it got to the point where I'm back.
Mo, it's interesting when I hear you talk about those days and the city. It's emotional. It seems emotional for you. You have a genuine affection for the city. So I wonder how important it is and how great it is for you to be back here and take care of unfinished business.
I mean, that's key for me. Obviously, going into the summer, and there's a lot of situations where, you can go to other teams and make a few more millions, and maybe they won't make the playoffs, and guys look at it like, hey, I'll be done in April, so that'll be cool too. At my age, guys maybe think about things like that. But for me, that's not fun. I had a good year last year, but I didn't have fun. And when you feel like you don't have a chance to compete for a championship, obviously, that love, that motivation. I wouldn't say love, that motivation, just to go out and compete at a high level every night. You got to find it somewhere else. And fortunate for myself, I did last year. I found it because I felt like, every other team in the league wrote me off, and they thought I was on the downward spiral. And, I used that as fuel with my training throughout the summer and went into the season in Minnesota. And obviously I just took off from there and just said I'm just going to, have a hell of a year and just, finish strong.
Well, I know the city and the team happy to have you back here, and it's a nice reset for you. So congratulations and best of luck this season.
I appreciate it, guys.
Really looking
Thank
forward to seeing you play.
Can I say one more thing
yes,
before
sir.
we go? Roll Tide.
Big weekend.
That's right.
Big
In
weekend.
Athens. We'll be right back with more interviews.
Who said that?
Uh-oh. Our producer is a Georgia grad.
Oh,
Careful
yes.
now. Matt Cain didn't like that at all. More Real Training Camp coming up.
You better not cut it off.
There's Conley on the take. That's a great sign for the Grizzlies. And a little floater is good for Conley. What a start for Mike Conley. Conley for three. What a shot. Man, oh man, is this guy coming up with some kind of effort tonight.
Gutsy performance.
Man, you have to love sports to see Mike Conley come back with a broken face and play in the playoffs as he did. And we will round out our Real Training Camp coverage tomorrow with the Memphis Grizzlies as their training camp comes to you from Santa Barbara, California, with Jared Greenberg and Reggie Miller at 5 p.m. Eastern. I mean, how much can you really grind in Santa Barbara? Come on. We'll be right back.